Where do you draw the line between justice and grace? Growing up in the church, grace was always a happy buzzword, a concept that was more precious moments than gritty realism. We always talked about grace in the past tense, vaguely remembering that we were once sinners of some sort and that God had extended his grace to us in our depravity. The only problem was, most of the people I knew weren't super depraved before they got saved. They weren't following God, sure, but for the most part, they were still decent people, just without a moral center. But what about the truly depraved? What about people who should probably be locked up because of their sinful nature and desires? I remember talking to a man in Thailand while filming Furious Love who had come there specifically to rape young boys, and he had no real problem with what he was doing. Suddenly, the idea of grace being extended to this guy didn't seem so great. Yet God was offering him the same grace he had offered me. Truth be told, grace looks different before it has been accepted. On the backside of grace, everyone is happy and joyous that God could touch such a life as this. But beforehand, when the grace is simply being offered, it's often hard to swallow. I got a first-hand look at this tension while filming Father of Lights, and my friend Robby Dawkins allowed me to film a meeting he had set up with some leaders from the Latin Kings in Chicago. Now, these were not nice men. They had hurt people badly and were leading others to do the same. And while justice kept gnawing at me, God stepped in and offered grace. And once again, I was left with the same tension. Where does justice end and grace begin? Let me set the scene. You are sitting in a room with 3 of the more notorious members of the Chicago Latin Kings, which is one of the largest gangs in America. This one, Sam, is actually a general in the Kings, a major leader in the Chicago chapter. This meeting took 2 months of planning with Robby Dawkins and our friend Todd White. There were rumors of war starting in Chicago between rival gangs, and this meeting was set up to try and stop it. It didn't take long to see these guys were no joke.
These kids need to realize what actions they're going to take. They got to hold accountability to that. When they listen to another guy say, here's a pistol, go smoke that mug. And go smoke that mug, you know?
Yeah.
And you don't send off somebody you ain't going to do yourself. That's what's wrong with a lot of these older mugs, or what I consider.
That's right.
I consider to be punk.
Sending out, bro. Because
I tell dudes, I go, hey, how you going to go tell that little kid to do? That could be my brother's son, or that could be my uncle's kids, or, you know, somebody I know's kid, you know, and you give him a pistol, he's life in prison for good.
I know.
You know, who's going to suffer is the family, man. And it does get to me because why? That kid could have a future.
And that's what happened to George. That's why he got popped and drugged. I know.
And there's a lot of send-offs, but if they can take their time and think about, hey, dude, why don't you go do it yourself? And why
that's,
telling me to go
that's
do
what I appreciate
like
about our conversation, because the send-offs, they've got to stop. I mean, you're sending the lambs to the wolves.
I think that's some punk. You send a little kid here and not go do it yourself. Me, when I was out here in this one, I go do my own shooting. I won't tell me he's a gun or go send him, come here, let's go. I go, where's the pistols at? Where wants to come, you can come, but I'm going to go smoke these up. I ain't got a problem with it.
Yeah.
And I used to do shootings all the time by myself. All through these neighborhoods. That's what I grew up in.
Almost as soon as we started praying, this guy, whose street name was Demon, started feeling something.
And I just felt earlier, David, correct me if I'm wrong, don't be nice to me, man. Tell me the truth. But I just felt like I just saw the Holy Spirit all around you. And God, I just felt like you were feeling something just in the room. Is that right? Don't be nice to me. Don't be nice.
That's right.
Tell me the truth, bro.
I felt presence when I came in. I felt.
I could see it.
I felt like God's presence. I felt like a lot of people surrounding us.
When I
walked in, I felt a certain different energy in here. My body felt different when I walked in. From everyone, Sammy here.
That is God loving you, man. God has got a great, great, great plan for you. And it was before you were born, David. God had a great plan for you before you were born. And it's like the enemy has worked really hard against you, my friend, because he sees the incredible ability and the incredible desire that God has for you.